In this session, I'll be demonstrating the Enterprise Performance Reporting System, or EPRS software that would exist behind an organization's firewall. When an organization undertakes this effort of putting EPRS behind their firewall, all authorized has 24/7 access to this overall system. What one first needs to do is to sign in to the system. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. What would appear is the first page of this Integrated Enterprise Excellence EPR Enterprise Performance Reporting System, or EPRS software. Now, what you see at the top there is we can monitor certain metrics that we think are really important that we want to highlight, but we also have the Integrated Enterprise Excellence value chain shown here. In addition, we can have projects that we're working on that would be aligned with our enterprise improvement plan, and everybody can track how these projects are progressing, and also whenever the report outs in PowerPoint or whatever, they can have access to real-time data for the metric they're trying to improve through these metrics. So now if I click on this over here, what you'll see is a blow up of the illustrated enterprise, or the value chain for this Harris Hospital. The functions across the top that are connected by arrows, those are the primary functions that were created that were thought important for this organization. We notice also that we have support functions below that. So I venture to say nobody goes to the hospital for their housekeeping, so that's shown there. Now we also have metrics that are numbered, or these functions are numbered, so that we can find them and have drill downs accordingly. So let's consider now that we're looking at financial reporting. Now with the EPRS system, what we have is the top swim lane has the metrics relative to quality, cost, and time, and the bottom swim lane has the processes that are associated with that. So we can click on all the shaded items that we have here. If we click on EBITDA, we're going to see a satellite report out of EBITDA, and over time, so we're looking at somewhat the profitability of the hospital. We notice now we have the mean value that's shown there with 80% frequency occurrence. Now we can change the color from red to green or whatever. Now red means we're actually working on improving it. Now we can also email this particular image to other people and make comments on it so they can be brought up to speed. Now what we like to do is to have several projects that we're working on such that we improve EBITDA. So this would be an illustration of what we like to see over time for EBITDA. If I'm clicking back to the enterprise, I can look at the voice of the customer. Again, I got the metrics that we think are important relative to the voice of the customer. We also have processes associated with that. Notice how we can actually have them clickable to PDF documents or websites that are germane to this. Now if we click on customer satisfaction, then we can see what this metric looks like. So for this particular situation, we have about a 17.9% or so non-conformance. So we don't like that answer. We need to make improvements. Now if we were selecting this effort through an EIP, then we would maybe like to see our dissatisfaction move down from 16% or so to less than 1%. So that's what we like to see through the execution of projects. Now if we proceed over to produce and deliver services, Again, we have two swim lanes here, or the metrics that we have at the top, relative quality, cost, and time, and we can click on those and look what we have. So in this case here, we got subgrouping for this particular response. Now, the way this system would work is that there's scripts or queries that go into an organization's systems to go in and pull out the data and put together spreadsheets that would be accessed after this query was completed, maybe at night, every night, and then our software would update these metrics. So all these metrics are updated so that nothing is longer than a day late. Okay, so now we looking at this length of stay in the hospital. So we're saying that if we want to improve the revenue, well, we could make people stay longer. Well, that's not the right legal thing to do. The government probably wouldn't like that, and we shouldn't want to do that sort of thing anyway. But that's the way the length of stay is, and we could actually have length of stay for other procedures as a drill down, where this might be just the overall. Now, if we look at medication error rate, we could track this using our 30,000 foot level approach, and it's about 15% here. So again, if we don't like that answer, we need to change the process. Now, if we notice also, we have the processes down here that's related to it. So let's consider or click on the emergency department. So we see a process here that's associated with it. So part of the software, you can do flow charting, some basic flow charting, but you can also click on and look at the a Word document or a PDF document that shows procedures that are written. You can also click on the links to various web pages here, so that might be germane to this particular process here. Now, what's nice about this is if we have somebody we just hired and maybe they're dealing with this particular process here, or a triage. So we could have a drill down of this. So somebody comes in, starting working for us, we could say, hey, this is your job right here, and these are metrics that's associated with it. We can have different ways of presenting information. So let's look at surgery. We might have different types of surgery that we identify here, and we can also have drill downs for each one of those particular types of surgeries. Okay, so now if we return back up to the enterprise piece and we look at transportation. So this is what transportation from one part of the hospital to another, and this is what it is. Well, it's taken 124 minutes, and 80% of the time it's between 116 and 132. Well, that's not necessarily so good, so we may take that on as a project, and what we like to see is this particular chart move down to level. And again, we have PowerPoint flexibility. We can have report outs. So if somebody's having a report out, then they can actually make a linkage to this particular metric as part of the report out if that's the project they're working on. So now let's look at governance. So governance, we're using a 9-step system where we look at the vision and mission. Step 2 describes the value chain. That's what an organization does and how it measures what's done. So satellite or financial metrics, and 30,000 foot level or operational metrics. Then step 3, we analyze the enterprise theory constraints. Do we have any, what's the competition doing? Might look at, is there differences between departments in the call center or whatever. We're taking a high level view. Then in step number 4, we create SMART, specific, measure, action, relevant, satellite level metric goals. Now what I'm saying is we don't create goals for next month. What we're looking at is trying to improve, for example, the EBITDA, average EBITDA that's reported monthly over many years, hopefully, and we want to maybe improve that. Now how we're going to do that, we got to do that through execution of strategies. So notice how we're having strategies aligned to improving our financials. That's quite different than a lot of times organizations create strategies in executive retreat, and sometimes it's worded like I want to be the best of the best. We cascade that throughout the organization using ocean planning or whatever. But how can people at the low end of the food chain can relate to these lofty statements? So then step number 6, we want to look at high potential areas that we want to improve, and we want to create 30,000 foot level goals for these where there's an owner of these metrics. And then step 7, we want to execute a project that's going to improve these metrics. We're going to have a team that's working on it, and the manager's going to really have that's responsible for this is going to have a sense of urgency, because he or she's going to be reporting the boss's boss every month or quarter about the status of their projects. And step 8 is we want to see the benefits of what we have, so we want to see a tracking of the 30,000 foot level metric for that particular process to an enhanced level of performance. Notice how step number 9 loops back to number 3, maintain the gain. So by using this 30,000 foot level updating, we get it almost for free, so people can see if we've made improvements, because it went to a new enhanced level of performance, and we can monitor that over time, and that's somewhat free. So now let's go back here and let's look at that enterprise improvement plan. So now again, step 1 is vision and mission, step 2 is your value chain, step 3 is analyze, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are shown here. Notice how the projects here are aligned to the overall business need, which we want to improve EBITDA. Okay, and notice also there's a manager that's responsible, marketing, transportation, food service, produce and deliver. That's asking for these projects to get done because they have some they have some urgency to it, because that's what's really important to the business as a whole. So again, this is the overall enterprise here, and we have also, there's a lot of other options here where if you're building this, how you can list metrics, you got your value chain, how it all puts together. So got administrative tab here. So again, you can have people throughout the organization have 24/7 access to this methodology.